Welcome to this short presentation on how to measure the nutritional impact of new protein sources. My name is Diederik Esser and I'm a Senior Scientist Food Clinical Trial at Food and Biobased Research of Wageningen University and Research. Within Wageningen we do a lot of research on proteins and we cover in various disciplines. However, since I'm a nutritionist and a coordinator of human clinical trials, I would like to address today the importance of measuring nutrient quality of new emerging protein sources. At the end of this presentation, I will also briefly touch upon what to expect in November when we have our full presentation. When we introduce new proteins for human consumption, it is important that we keep in mind certain aspects. In case of production, we need to know how to isolate, hydrolyze, purify these proteins, etc. etc. But also the techno-functional aspects of such a protein is of importance to see if we can use it for a specific food item. So the gelling, foaming, viscosity and emulsification properties are important aspects. Also essential in this respect are the sensory aspects of a protein source. Taste, texture, mouthfeel, aftertaste, but also all flavor are very important when we use isolated proteins in new products. When we want to introduce new emergent proteins or products for human consumption into, for instance, the European market, it is important that we also understand aspects of safety, allergenicity and labeling. Some of examples can be, for instance, proteins derived from microorganisms, fungi or waste streams or crops that we currently not consuming in Western world. Finally, it is also important to know the nutrient quality of a protein source and the bioavailability. This to value its potential for human consumption and how we can fulfill the nutritional requirements of the consumer. But before we can talk about nutrient quality, we need to know why we need to consume proteins and why we need proteins in our diet. Proteins are important macronutrients in our diet because they provide us with essential building blocks. These essential building blocks are needed to make enzymes or tissues such as muscle. We can also use protein as an energy source, and proteins and their peptides have a role in the regulation of biological processes. We do quite some work on the role of proteins and peptides on biological processes within Wageningen. But today I will focus in my presentation mainly on the role of the building blocks. These building blocks are called amino acids. So proteins consist of amino acids, and we have in total 20 common amino acids. And each type of protein has a different amino acid composition. But some amino acids are more valuable compared to others regarding our diet. So what makes a protein of high quality? And what is important if we talk about the amino acid composition of a protein source? Proteins consist of either non-essential amino acids, and these amino acids we can make ourselves, so we don't need them through our diet, but we also have essential amino acids, and these essential amino acids we cannot synthesize in our bodies, so we need to have them through our diet. We also have conditionally essential amino acids, but these amino acids are only essential under specific circumstances. So what makes a protein of high quality? It's the presence and the abundance of the essential amino acids. But not only the presence and abundance are of importance, but also if we're able to digest the protein and take these amino acids from a protein source. So are they bioavailable for us? So how does this relate in the protein transition? Well, we know that if you compare an animal-based source towards a plant-based source, that most animal sources provide a complete essential amino acid profile, whereas many plant sources are low in one or more specific essential amino acids. Plant proteins can also be less accessible to digestion due to the presence of anti-nutritional factors. But also the plant matrix effect can sometimes make it harder to digest a certain protein, and thereby make it more difficult to take up these amino acids. But is this an important issue for the protein transition? Not necessarily. Because most of the consumers living in rich world countries overconsume proteins, and if these proteins come from a variety of sources, we don't see a big problem in the amount of essential amino acids that they will obtain through their diet. But it can be of importance for specific target groups that need higher amounts of proteins, such as the elderly. Also, It's very important to know that some components that may reduce the protein availability, so these anti-nutritional factors, can themselves also be beneficial. So it's not always good if we remove them out of a plant protein source. So the current methods to address nutrient quality and predict the potential of an amino acid uptake of a protein source are dominated by the PDCAS and DIAS measurement methods. These are often used for marketing purposes around protein quality. However, there are some drawbacks to these methods, as they require animal experiments, which is something we are trying to reduce in science in order to better prove efficacy. They are also not 100% match with the human situation, and they do not provide us with information on specifics on differences in personal responses or differences between specific target groups. So do we have alternatives? And what about the issue around safety and health? Because these methods also do not offer data on these important issues. We within Wageningen are working on real alternatives to this. We're conducting studies that better reflect the human situation, so we do a lot of work on protein quality and health effects. We can do it in a lab by mimicking the digestive system, or we can conduct human clinical trials. And in November, I will mainly focus on the human clinical trials. So how can we measure protein quality and health effects in humans and reflect the human situation? So what to expect in November during the full, hopefully live presentation. In that presentation, I will provide you with examples of our clinical trials on emerging protein sources. I will also demonstrate how you can measure nutrient quality and safety aspects in humans, and will also show results and lessons from our previously conducted projects. But I will also like to talk to you about the near future and show to you what are we doing in Wageningen. So there are several exciting projects we're planning to launch in the upcoming years. And by doing that, hopefully inspire you and show you what we in Wageningen think is of importance, so we can take the protein transition to the next level with a stronger focus on health and personal needs. So thank you for your attention, and I look forward to see you all live in November and to have a discussion on these aspects. However, in case of questions, or if you're interested in performing a human clinical trial or join one of our projects, feel free to contact me through the contact details provided in the slides. Thank you.